Welcome to Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality, a show designed to share spiritual insights with you so that you can comprehend the universe and how it functions. You are about to experience raised consciousness. This is a place where spiritual principles are shared with the goal of assisting you to expand your understanding of both the seen and unseen worlds. Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality helps you to discern the timeless truths handed down from wise sages through the ages, from the airy-fairy nonsense that is being taught today. Now, here is your host, Lynn Wyeth.
Welcome to Luminescence Common Sense Spirituality. We are doing our best to disseminate esoteric knowledge and common sense spirituality. I'm Lynn Wyeth, creator of Namology Science, which is the ability to know all about a person's personality and the soul's purpose simply from a person's name. The beautiful inspirational music that you just heard is the beginning of the musical. It's called Shine, and it's by Dee L'Amour. And you can hear more of her music by visiting her website, DLEMOR.com. Now, our topic today is ETs and the range of beings that live in our universe. So how many different species of life are there? Are UFOs real? Is there a difference between extraterrestrials and aliens? Do lives on different planets have different goals? And do they look different? How do we interact with them? Are they the good guys? Are the bad guys? Or do they simply have more technology than we do? Now, our special guest today is Sherry Anshara, and I spelled her last name incorrectly in my newsletter today, and for that I apologize. Her name is Sherry Anshara, and she's an international best-selling author, a professional speaker, a former radio host of Conscious Healing, and a contributing writer to national and international publications on the subject of the Anshara Method of accelerated healing and abundance and overall wellness. Now, Sherry Anshara utilizes her experience and expertise as a medical intuitive as the foundation of her groundbreaking work with cellular memory, which she calls the Anshara Method. Now, through the Anshara Method, you can access your cellular memories, which hold the root causes of your symptoms, whether mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, or financial. Now, Sherry created these systematic processes so you can rid yourself of unwanted limitations, any restrictions, negative thought patterns, and toxic behaviors. Sherry guides you to heal at the cellular level so that you can enjoy health, wellness, and abundance in every area of your life. Sherry, welcome to Luminescence.
Oh, I am so excited to be here today, Sharon. Thank you, because we're going to kick butt and we're going to blast some of those belief systems formerly known as BS, especially about those other people.
Okay, so ready? We're going to start. I have just so many questions for you. Okay, so how many ETs are currently interacting with the Earth? Is there a number? Would that number blow us away? Is that only a small portion of the number of different kinds of beings out in the universe? What's your answer to that?
There is innumerable amount. And you know what? I am going to blow a pop stand. Stop calling them extraterrestrials. There is nothing extra about them. Some have better technology, but that does not make them conscious. So in this universe, just as this planet, is what I teach, non-duality. These are dualistic beings, and they war with each other, and they fight with each other. Does that sound like your family? And they get aggravated with each other. Does that sound some of the relationships that you have? They do the same thing. And if you look at the word relationship, let's take them off the ships. Stop giving our power away, because there's not one thing extra about them. And I have met a numerous amount of these, I call them people. But the best part of it that I will talk about today too is I'm actually in contact with over 60 races of people outside this duality universe. And my goodness, their conversations are just so much more uplifting, and they make sense, and that's why I like it. If something doesn't make sense, then why do we give our power away? because they had something that we didn't have at the time called technology that is being used to manipulate us today.
So are they visiting us through UFOs? Are those real?
Well, some of them use ships and some of them don't. And they're not really, I don't know what unidentified flying objects are. That is ridiculous. If someone throws a rock at you, that's unidentified flying object. So the fact is, if you look on this planet, there are people that drive Volkswagens, there are people that drive Ferraris, and there's all kinds in between. There is not just one type of ship. Get over it. There's all kinds of different ships that have been coming in and off of this planet for eons, which I'm going to put a little plug in here. I'm actually in the editing stages of a book on DNA, and wait till you find out what is in your DNA. It's all bullshit. I'm not kidding you. It's like down to earth. Let's find out what's happening. So the fact is, they interact with us. And that's why, and please get rid of this idea that they're hybrids. There's nothing high about them. They're manipulative because they're duality based. And so when people say, are there hybrids? No, they're half-breeds. Half-breed. I think Cher did a song about that. So I'm not being funny. I am being serious. So if you look at somebody, say in Vietnam War, it could be the Chinese War, it could be the Roman War. So when the guys came here, and they mated, and then they created a half-breed. So I'm going to tell you something. Because they came in a ship of any kind does not make them smarter. So I'm going to give you an analogy to break some of this BS. Do you know during World War II, planes, C-47s went over Borneo, and paratroopers fell out with their parachutes, and they dropped jeeps and food, and they went back in the 50s to see what happened, and they were worshiping them. So when those ETs, whatever you want to call them, with the DTs landed, were actually praying to the ground pounders, for Christ's sake. Do you think the emperor, the captain of the ship, or the scientist got out first? No, they send out the warriors. It's no different, folks. You better wake up. So a lot of our belief systems and a lot of the gods we're praying to were the ground pounders that parachuted in first. Got it? And some of them have come through wormholes. They're all over the planet. They're called vortices or a vortex. So with that said, I'm trusting I rattled your molecules. So as humans, we stop giving our power away because somebody else had better technology. And remember, this is a dualistic universe. My God's better than your God. My way's better. You better follow me, and you better follow, or else I'll kill you. And that is what they have done. And there is at least, right now on this planet, at least 75 races, because they're here for the show of the end times. And the end times are not what you think they are.
Well, isn't it end times of duality?
Yes, that's what it is. Oh my gosh, I got so excited. Okay. It is the end times of duality, that dualistic. But they think it's the end of the human race. It's under one word called depopulation, and they're doing it. And who are they? Call them the Cabal, call them the Illuminati, call them the reptiles, but they're not the only ones. And in the reptilian race, they have at least 8 races of them. And you know why we worship white, and white's good and black's bad? It's because the white reptiles are the ones they worship as their gods. So this whole universe is based on a God, somebody outside of you that's going to tell you what to do. And guess what? You are God. You're not a God, but you have the godness within you the more conscious you become. Woohoo!
So I've got a quote of a definition of God out of a book. It says that the term for ETs God is simply a term for ETs who possess, and I'm quoting, extraordinary knowledge, ability, and wisdom, and result of spiritual power, are able to master and accomplish what other leaders cannot. That's
wow. It. Where did
That's
they
from
get
Zechariah
the word
Sitchin's book.
I know. I love Sitchin. He was wonderful, and he was the first one that started getting this information out. But you have to look at the word spiritual. Spirit means you spear it. That is when you got the aha, the Buddha. It's within you. many of these races are not in our idea of spiritual because they're looking to control the con of the troll. That's who they are. They're trolling around the universe looking for another group of people to control. That is not spiritual whatsoever. Spiritual is acknowledging all the different species and being in connectedness. But in duality, it's difficult to be in connectedness because somebody has to be the leader and they're looking for the followers. Isn't that what religion does? Follow me, follow me. And my question was, where?
Another question for you, Sherry, is recently Solace put out a special brochure or email or whatever that had this video on it, and he's known to be in communication with ETGs and trying to wake people up. And he said on his video that years ago that the ETs ate us humans like we eat cattle, okay? And that in able to stop the giants and the ETs from coming into everyday's reality and stealing people to go eat, instead there were sacrifices made. And then they couldn't keep up with the sacrifices, and so they made an agreement with them that they would have wars where there would be a lot of killing of people, and therefore they could have some of those people, and they didn't have to come into our communities to eat us. So that literally governments continue to have wars this day and able to keep their agreements and feed these big giant ETs. So what do you think of that?
Well, there's some truth to it and there's some phony baloney to it. I'm not judging them in any way. They eat humans every day. They eat your energy. And the more upset you are and the more emotional you are. When you are emotional, you get sick, you rant and rave, and you become wars. And there are deposits around this planet where that war resonance, when they go to the South and they replay the Civil War, or they go to the Middle East and they replay the Civil War. So the individuals who live in these areas are in constant fear because the key is resonance, not frequency and vibration. And they know if they keep you in the resonance of fear, you are controllable. And they eat you alive all the time. And what is upsetting right now, and that is why I teach consciousness, involved conscious evolution, is the new children that are coming on the block since 2002, and this past year, the second wave, they have the God particle. This is not religion. The God particle is for humans to become real humans. And the only way we can do that is become fully conscious and fearless. So that is how they eat you alive. And yes, during the wars, I will agree that they pick up the bodies, and yes, they do. That's why you have things called Pizzagate and different, from New York to LA, where these restaurants are actually killing these children, killing at birth when they're born, or taking them up and cooking them. And that's what Pizzagate is. That's what they do. And they have turned many of the humans that have been their followers into carnivores of humans. And that is absolutely a fact in the truth. People don't like to hear this, and not all the praying and hoping, wishing, wanting is going to change it. We require action. We require action, and to say to ourselves, I am not, absolutely not going to buy into their fears. And that's how they caught you in the dynamics of duality. Oops, I did it again, in the recycle bin. So the recycle bin was you're going to die and come back and do it again, and they had a fresh supply of food all the time. But guess what? They're taking the emotions and they're putting it into AIs, and they're turning human to AIs by the implants in their brain, because then when they get all of those emotional patterns into AIs, then humans are expendable. I am not, making you guys, I'm just telling you facts. That's what it is, facts. And so we don't have to be their food anymore. Let them eat each other up, not us. It's time to become really non-duality humans and make it their end times, so we stop being controlled and being used as their supermarket.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Since everything seems to duplicate on different levels throughout the universe, if all of us became vegetarians, would we stop being eaten?
No, it says it's not about food, it's about the food of consciousness. We must begin to be completely conscious. In duality, they teach oneness, Sharon, that we're all the same. That is the most ridiculous thing. We're not. We're unique. I teach allness so that we can recognize the uniqueness in all life, in this universe, outside of the universe. Again, it's about resonance. The more conscious you become, involve conscious evolution, revolution. I'm going to start a course on this online, putting the plug in here. But the more conscious you become, you do not have to be the food. This is your planet. This earth is your planet. And having it invaded by interlopers is absolutely must end.
I understand that's what the Space Force is for. So let's talk more about, I want to ask a quickie question before we get into Space Force. And that is, what do we call these? Since you said don't call them extraterrestrials, there's nothing extra about them. Do we call them aliens because they're not native to here? Or do we just call them others?
I just call them others, people, whatever you want to call them. I am not going to give them a label that makes them better or smarter than me. No, I won't. They're people, whatever you would like to call them. What is alien in that idea is their duality programs of control, and manipulation is really alien to becoming human. And humans, as Sitchin said, and before that, were manipulated in the petri dish. And that's why I'm writing, and we'll talk about DNA. So a lot of this...
DNA is the next time you're on air with us. And this brings us to our first break. Stay tuned. We'll ask Sherry Anshara more questions about these others once we come back. Stay tuned.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The why is hidden in your name. Sharon Lynn Wyeth has created a scientific way of deciphering your name to reveal your contract for this lifetime. And your name even specifies the 7 areas that are subsets of your soul's overall goal. Your name identifies who you are to both yourself and others. What does your name say about you? Contact Sharon Lynn Wyeth at info@knowthename.com for your stunning name review.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Welcome back to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality. And our special guest today is Sherry Anshara. And Sherry, we've been talking about aliens. So my question for you is, do aliens live on different planets where they ever are? Are there other mingled or commingled planets where there's multiple groups of them on a particular planet? Or is Earth fairly unique in that regard?
I know it's not unique at all, but it's unique because we have something that they didn't have. It's called human, becoming humanness. And so if you look at on the planet, we have Italians, we have Polish people, we have people from Norway. Look at the essence of all the different individuals and groups of people on this planet. Well, if you go out into this duality universe, it will be the same. And would you all like to know how duality got here? Would you like to know that, Sharon?
Yeah, of course.
Because our universe was developing not as duality, but a non-duality, really expressive, wonderful universe. And then the reptiles came through, and I'm telling you the history. Been there, done that. They came into the second set of Pleiades, and there's more than 7, but why they came into that area is when they first came into the first set, those individuals were really wonderful. They were able to cloak. They were very spiritual, but they were very open and they were very productive. And they knew that they had come through the wormhole way before the Zeta Reticuli, that they came through. And they found, because they were looking for opportunities to do control, manipulate, and food supply. And they fed off of energy. And also they fed off of individuals. And that's what brought that resonance of duality into this universe. Can I prove it? You know why I can? Because I remember when it happened. And you talked about Zechariah Sitchin, and that was Nibiru, the Nibirians, but they actually came from the Pleiades. So they were Pleiadian, and everybody thinks they're reptilian. They were not. They were actually Hebrew. They were actually Jewish, if you want to put it that way. And so when they came here and manipulated people in the petri dish, these developing races, that's why they were called the chosen people, because of their genetic coding. And so throughout this universe, there are just a bazillion amount of, I will call them people. I will not call them extraterrestrials because they're not. And some of them developed technology so that they could begin and travel around. That's why in the 50s, when, all these different, types of ships were taken, pictures of them, again, doing the metaphor of a Volkswagen or a Ferrari. Some of them had Ferrari ships, and some of their ships are more alive. They're very organic, and some are more structured. I will use the word, they're more metal. And that is really what happened. And so there has been many, many of them that have come here during the timelines, and they have interacted with, if you look at the different types of people on this planet, a lot of the redheads, are from Sirius. The blondes are from here or whatever. But guess what? They are still based on duality because of that reptilian interference a bazillion years ago. And they interacted with these races on these particular planets or planetoids or areas or systems. And that's a fact.
Okay, so going back to Sitchin, he writes the Dracos enslaved the Anunnaki on Nibiru, and they ruined their planet in the process, the Nibirubians did. Hence, the Anunnaki had to come here to find gold to save their planet and fix the damage that they did while they were trying to appease the Dracos who were trying to take them over. So
that's the truth. That's the truth, Cheryl. That is a fact.
Okay.
And who are the Dracos? They're reptilians.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to ask next. So we've got here on this planet, you're saying that you've interacted with 60 out of the 70-something that you're aware of that are here. So I would suppose in that in duality, we would consider them, some of them good guys and some of them not so good. So when I was reading something from Carolyn Mace that she wrote, she said, we entered the atomic age with bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the ET forces now monitor us to intervene, if needed, for the security of universal space. So we must have some people working, or some of them working with us to make sure the other ones don't do damage.
Okay, we have a grid around our planet, right? We have a grid. And what happened is the reptilians opened up the grid. So there are other people out there who do not like us to set off bombs because it's like there's a leak in the grid. Like, let's have a fence, like a chain link fence, and some of those chain links are broken. They do not require the resonance to go out there to do that. So it is being monitored. But let's go back to how we got it. Do you know how we got this stuff? Because in the Hitler was actually the experiment that is now happening right now with all this COVID crap that they're putting in people. And that is exactly what Hitler did and the Japanese did. We punished the Germans, but we didn't punish the Japanese. Now, this is not about punishment, but they did the same experiments. So when the Greys came, they offered Hitler, it wasn't Werner von Braun, give it up. So yes, he was smart. So they offered the Nazis the ability to do rocketry and all that so they could control the world. However, our government gave them a better deal and said, if you give it to us, then you can have our people. And that was the first abductions that were actually happening by permission of humans. Whoa,
wow, what
how about
agreement.
that? Yes.
Well, and that goes along with the Fourth Reich, a book written by Jim Marrs, which is just fascinating too, and how we imported through Operation Paperclip and other things and put all the Nazis at the head of this, and how there was cooperation between what I'm going to call the aliens and the Nazis, and how they seeded them in our United States.
Yes, and who ran our space program? Werner von Braun. Hello, people. Wake up to what's really going on in his story called history, not judging it. And so in order to protect that, they created these two words, conspiracy theorists. Woo! So that they would be told they were nuts. I've actually pulled, I don't know why I'm saying this on the radio, but I am. I've actually pulled implants out of people. I've actually told other races, you ever touch that person again, you're going to be so upset with what's going to happen to you. You have to stand in your power. Fear is lack of correct information, and fear is a resonance. So let's keep the people fear-based through the left-controlled, left computer brain. That's where it is. So you're right, brain isn't even operating, and that's your creative side. So they used many, many, many ways to make people afraid. What's the difference in getting in line to get a shot that is going to bring down your DNA, which isn't that smart to begin with double strands? And doctors have gone out there. They've disappeared. They've said this. But what's the difference to get in line to get your shots or get in line to get in a concentration camp? And the concentration camps have become people's homes.
Oh, wow. Now that was really powerful. And it's something
correct.
that I hadn't even thought about previously. Okay.
Believe me, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the whole picture, not the HOLE, but the WHOLE. And, you know, I'm going to put a plug in here, Sharon, I can't help it. That's why I do Insider Secrets of the Shift every other Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I do it on Eventbrite, because you can't do it. I'm going to share something that is so convoluted. I got monitored on Facebook. I'm saying it. For 3 days, I couldn't post on anybody. You know why? What I wrote on there? I said, you know, I can't call my kitties pussycats, and I don't know how to cook black-eyed peas. I cooked red-skinned potatoes, and I don't like egg whites. Have I offended everybody? And I got thrown off for 3 days.
Well, I'm permanently off because I wrote an article on about hate, that so many people were hating, I mean, really having strong emotions toward one side or the other, as they kept trying to divide and conquer that one over again between Republicans and Democrats, and that we had to watch, because if we were coming from hatred instead of not liking somebody's policies, which is totally different than hating the person, and that hate was going to start spilling out in different places. Anyway, I'm permanently off.
And it has,
because I wrote an article on hate.
And that's brilliant. I love it. And the fact is, the reason they're doing this is to control people. So now they've taken the war off the battlefields and they put in the wars into the grocery stores, into the churches, into the whatever, which is a bunch of BS to begin with. So the gods that we pray to were created by these other races, whether you call them, I call them not extraterrestrials or not aliens. They created it. They wrote all the books. They even wrote the end times. Whoa. But the fact is, we can make it be the end of them by becoming real humans who we were meant to be as a developing race. That instead of being a manipulated race in the gene pool, and they have more strands of DNA. And the reason they do is so they can control people, and now they're putting that stuff in to take down a strand. So it's time for humans to get together and let go of this resonance of hate and opposition, because they're the ones that created it. They created it to depopulate the human race. And you know what? We don't deserve that. We deserve to become real humans, and this is our planet, not theirs. And going back to Sitchin, you know why gold is such the big deal? Because they came here to mine it. And as Sitchin said, when they first started mining on this planet, the Anunnaki, who were not reptilian, they were Hebrew. That is their genetic coding. And when they came here to mine the gold, that's why it made gold as the biggie deal. If they were mining platinum, it would have been the biggie deal. But they required it for their atmosphere. But our atmosphere on this planet is being polluted by the resonance of fear, and the offshoot is hate and being against each other. So we're actually buying in to them, those beings, to depopulate each other by killing each other, not on the battlefield, but the battlefield in our homes, in our cities, in our towns.
So how does our Space Force that was just recently created, how does that play in with also what's going on with these different races and these different groups of people?
Okay, it's duality. If you look at I don't teach force. I teach power. Force, we're going to force them. And by the way, I'm just going to do a little FYI here. Did you know we had bases on Mars since the 80s? I mean, give it up. There's been bases on Mars. Even the astronauts have said it. They're on the other side of the moon. They're all over the moon. They're all over Mars. We already have there. It's just how many years did it take to bring it into acceptance within the human race? So the human race has been programmed to not accept themselves. So I can't say the Space Force, it's the same stuff. It's a force against somebody else. That this whole duality universe is based on war. My God's better than your God. My way is better. I'm going to control you. I'm going to do it. Like, am I history buff? If you go through history, it's the same thing. Someone has to control another group, and then the winner becomes the loser, and then the loser becomes the winner, and the people in power the people in control get out, and then somebody else comes in. It's this. So I'm going to ask all of your listeners to write out the symbol of infinity, BS, and now upright it, and it becomes the sign of the hourglass. Same thing. Ooh. And then let's take that symbol of the hourglass and bring it down and bring it down and bring it down and twist it. It's the double strand of DNA.
Interesting. Okay, so these guys, when they're on their own home planet, does each planet have a different goal of consciousness or evolution?
No, their consciousness is to create better technology, but their consciousness in duality is to fight with each other. All of the planets of duality fight with each other. And it wasn't always that way in the developing stages. It was actually the reptilians that brought it in, because that's what they know. They know war. That's what it is. I mean, even if you look at some of the movies, from that the predator has to come in. Then the next thing you know, the predator is fighting Arnold Schwarzenegger as the other guy. That is what this out. We watch war all the time. It's
well, and it always made me curious why there's so many movies on television still about the Nazis. It's almost like they're keeping that up front in consciousness and in people's awareness.
Totally, and it's gigantically subtle. It's like the frying pan that hit you over the head, and you don't even know the frying pan hit you over the head because it's programmed through the left computer brain that goes to the right male side, called manifest, manufacturing, manipulating. And duality is male-based. I'm not male-bashing here. It's a male resonance. But now what's happening is in the shift, and it's been happening, this is not like this. I'm not like a women's liber. I'm a human liber. And so now the God particle that I call the Godness particle, I call it the Akira Zananda. I don't care if you call it Whippy Zap. That is now coming into these new children on the block, and they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because they're coming in by contract that they accepted to shift the resonance here. It's not about women walking around down New York Street as a vajayjay. That is ridiculous. That doesn't change anything except make more opposition. The God particle within these new children, and we all have it. And that's what I assist people to do, is to trigger that God particle that really is part of us from the developing human race eons ago. It's consciousness, and it's there in your body. So we don't have to individually or collectively give our power away because someone said they were extraterrestrials. BFD.
Okay, so I'm reading another book. This one's by J.J. Dewey, and he says that the dark brothers absolutely love it when we are selfish, when we're under illusion, and when we have aggression.
What the hell is the dark? I'm not wronging him. What's the dark brothers? The brotherhood is the male consciousness. It's the male consciousness. This is the belief system. This is not judging. I'm gonna say here. We're gonna do it this way, Sharon. So we say positive is good and negative is bad, right? That's duality. So Sharon, I'm positive, you're negative. What the hell does that mean?
Well, it means we're two sides of a battery. And with that, we've got a break for our next break. Stay tuned, and we'll find out after this break how to actually contact the aliens if you'd like to speak with them. All right, stay tuned.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Are you feeling lost, confused, absolutely clueless? No way out, over, under, or through? Then it's time to have the Light Keepers, through their conduit, Sharon Lynn Wyeth, guide you by shining their light, illuminating the right path for you. Let Sharon share the wisdom of the ancient masters to guide you on what is coming next for you and to show you the silver lining in your current circumstances. Contact Sharon Lynn Wyeth at info@knowthename.com for a joyful, info-packed Lightkeepers session.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. At the Equal Justice Initiative, we believe mass incarceration has to end. There is this presumption of dangerousness and guilt that gets assigned to Black and brown people. We have to confront our history of racial injustice and commit to a new era of truth. There's something better waiting for us, something that feels more like freedom. Truth can inspire change. Please learn more at EJI.org.
So welcome back to Luminescence, Common Sense Spirituality. This is your host, Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and our special guest today is Sherry Anshara, and we're talking about ETs. Now, right before the break, Sherry, you said, okay, so if you're positive and I'm negative, we often have said, or I've read, that males were considered positive and females negative, so that they're two sides of a magnet and they attract each other. But what were you going to say about that?
Well, number one, it's ridiculous because it's duality. So it's negating the female side, non-gender, of everybody. And so if you negate that side, that's our creative side through our right brain. And that is what keeps this, in all religions, all the women have to take a lower role. You know, you have Mary the Virgin and you have Mary Magdalene the whore. Man, I'd rather be Mary Magdalene and have a good time. So I hope that makes you laugh. That is ridiculous. And it really meant a virgin idea, a conscious virgin idea through the female creativity that gets shot down. And so I'm going to bring up the idea of energy. Everything is energy. This is energy. I'm an energy worker. I'm an energy healer. That's all crap. Not judging it, but it's crap. Energy is a byproduct of a resonance of either consciousness or a duality belief system. And when it's a duality belief system, that creates the conflict with inside of ourselves. And that's why my clients have said, you know, I feel like I'm divided down the middle from your male and female. And that's why each side of the brain goes in opposition to each other. So you know what? I just have to thank you, Sharon, for your courage and bravery for providing this information, because we've got to get out of the booga. So, and even science. Years ago, I'll give you an example. I was at a conference for physicists 19 years ago this year, and I met this young physicist. And I won't tell the story of the DNA, but I'll tell this one. And they were talking about black holes, and they said, "Well, Sherry, you're not a physicist. What's your idea of a black hole?" I said, "It's a toilet." And they went, "What?" I said, "Yeah, we're dumping the shit down into another dimension, and pretty soon it's going to back up." They said, "Sure." I said, "I know you're going to tell me the event horizon, it goes down, and that's not." Do you know that 2 years ago they've discovered, because they have technology, it was always there, that stuff's coming out of the black holes. So duality sets people into the idea. Here is and so how do you connect to them? It's called resonance, but you must be clear. So if a group comes to me, and I've told this many times and I do it, if a group comes to me, I have them fill out an application. Who are you? What's your name? What's your purpose? Don't give me any bullshit or woo-woo metaphysler shit. I say it just like that. You're filling out the application and you speak in my language. And I'm not afraid of you because my consciousness is. And you would be amazed. I've had the most incredible conversations. I'm not kidding you. That's why I can contact over 60 races. But I am a snob. And I'm going to teach people to be snobs, not duality snobs, so that you're not going to bring in the resonance of the duality ones in this universe, because we're getting out of duality. And I can't tell you, lovely, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's really important simply not to feel less than. Just because it's an unknown or they have more technology, that it's very important that we don't feel less than someone else.
Yes, and that's embedded. That's a less than a victim program of duality. And all of the programs in duality create people to be less than. But when you step into your power, you cannot be controlled. And then there's a plethora of all sorts of individuals that can come and visit and talk with you and sit down. I've actually sat down with them in my family room, and we've had wonderful conversations. Are reptiles invited here? Absolutely not. But I've had some reptilians contact me that were younger and said, could you assist us? But you see, the resonance inside them, because they're soulless, that is why they did abductees. Whether they used the grays that were, technology. Because that's what they're attempting to get when they eat human energy. They're looking to find out why we have souls and they don't. And this has been going on. I'm giving you some really incredible information because it's a fact. I don't deal in conjectures or fiction or woo-woo or boga-boga. Facts. Because fear is lack of correct information. Isn't this cool to find out? That's what they're looking for.
So they're looking for a soul. So how would you define soul versus spirit?
A spirit is your energy. It's your spirit. I got it. Boom. The soul is our fabulous script writer, And that's why we got caught in duality in that figure 8 and the hourglass, and then you bring it down and turn it into DNA, because our DNA is based on duality, double helix. So
okay, well, I'm looking forward to
is being conscious. Is being conscious.
Well, I am really looking forward to the next time you're on, Sherry, where we get to go into DNA, because that's our topic of discussion. Sherry, let everybody know how to reach you.
They can go to my website, Sherry, Sherry, Anshara, Anshara, SherryAnshara.com. And you know what? You can sign up for a complimentary 10-minute session. And I have a free ebook called Getting Your Answers in 10 Minutes. And you would be surprised the knowledge that you carry in your cellular memory and even your entire time continuum, because there's no such thing as a past life. It's a time continuum accessibility. Or you can call my office at 480-609-0874. And I'm in Arizona on Pacific Standard Time. And I would be delighted to have a conversation with you, and to all of your audience, Sharon, that because of you are becoming conscious.
Well, because of them, because they're making a choice. I'm not taking credit where credit's not due. I have another question very quickly, Sherry, and that is, if we want to make sure that our resonance is viable because we wish to contact other life forms, is there a specific pathway or a belief or an understanding that helps us get that resonance where it needs to be to make contact? Or do we just throw it out to the universe and say, okay, guys, I want to make contact?
No, don't throw it out. You have to be really conscious, and you must be fearless, the resonance of fearlessness, and you must command, and here's the word, a sovereign. I am a sovereign being. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, it was 10 years ago actually, a group showed up in my bedroom. They didn't get the memo. You can go anywhere on my property. Nobody goes into my bedroom, or I'm going to beat the crap out of you. That's the memo. And I got up and I said, obviously you didn't get the memo. And my body, for some reason, I was experiencing fear. I said, so let me tell you this. My consciousness is not afraid of you. You come back in 3 days, and don't lower your resonance to a fear-based human. No, you stay where you are, and I will expand my consciousness, my resonance, so that we can be on the same wavelength. But give me 3 days. And guess what? They came back in 3 days, and did they come in my bedroom? Absolutely not. That's myspace.com. I set very clear, not rules, guidelines. And when you set those guidelines, they feel it. And I learned so much from them, and they learned so much. And guess what? I went to their planet and channeled, what the hell is duality? That was the subject of my talk.
So there are planets that do not have duality.
Yes, outside this duality universe. And that's the facilitation or the consciousness. That's why I'm doing involved conscious evolution, so that we can do that. It talks about the DNA, it talks about the old 7 chakra, and the 7 chakra system is DNA. It is duality. The 7 chakra system is duality. Oops, I did it again. Britney Spears said it so well. So yes, but you must be clear if someone shows up or you invite them in. You must be fearless, because your body will recognize. And I said to them, I know this physical body, human body, is starting to have a fear. And I'm going, this is not working for my consciousness. I'm not afraid of you. But you give me 3 days. And then I went there and I actually was a speaker. I could call myself a national speaker or beyond duality
interplanetary speaker.
Yeah, and they kept asking me about duality, and they're like scratching their heads going, God, that sounds ridiculous. I said, it is, but it's been on here for centuries. And that's why I love contributing to the end times of the new times, the newness times that we're in.
It's a real shift in thinking and considerations when something you've considered your entire life as normal, because that's all you've known, and able to shift over into a new direction. Think of allness instead of oneness. Think of a layer of consciousness that is beyond duality. I mean, because we've been so programmed for so long.
Totally.
So,
and
Sherry,
it starts in the womb.
Which of your many books would you recommend somebody starts with if they would like to know more about this?
Go to Amazon and get the one, Take Back Your Power, You Becoming You. Take Back Your Power, You Becoming You.
Sherry is a prolific author. I have read almost all of her books now, looking forward to the next one that's coming out. You can find out more about Sherry Anshara by going to her website. Again, it is her name, Sherry. Anshara is ANSHARA, and it's .com. And Sherry, thank you so much for joining me today. I always appreciate having you on. Next week, everyone, we're going to have Vincent Genna on, and we're going to be talking about ego and the benefits and possibly not the benefits of ego, but how to use ego appropriately and what exactly it is. Thank you so much for joining us on Luminescence. As always, I end my show with Dee L'Amour's Shine, a wonderful song that I think just resonates with all of us. Until next time, this is Sharon Lynn Wyeth signing off.
So long ago, gazing in the mirror, an image of an angel smiling back at her. No wounds or imperfections, just beauty and its glow. Her laughter and her heart, a reflection of her soul. And I want to shine like the sun and smile to stop the rain. And I want to dance with the wind and believe in dreams again. Of life stroke the canvas of her, the light slightly dimmed, her reflection unseen, and all that she